The Short Game is listener-supported on Patreon. If you'd like to support the show and join us on our Discord, head to theshortgame.net or patreon.com/theshortgame.
Welcome back to The Short Game. This is a show about short video games, games that respect your time. I'm Reagan Kelly, and I'm joined this week by two excellent co-hosts,
Laura Nash
and Shane Kelly.
And this week, we are talking about Hi-Fi Rush. Hi-Fi Rush is a rhythm action. This is vaguely in the character is it character action? Is that what they call that sort of like, XXY game genre? I think the
XXY game.
Oh, I
combo.
It's like a derisive. I've heard that. Have you guys not heard that?
I don't hang around in derisive circles. Reagan.
You're too much positivity.
Yes.
Okay. It's sort of like a derisive genre name, kind of like Walking Simulator, because it's action games that are all just about hitting light heavy until you get to a boss, and then hit light heavy and the God of War likes and such, that kind of thing, I think. But that's aside. I was not trying to sidetrack us onto derisive game genre title corner. We're talking about Hi-Fi Rush.
Yeah, you're right, Reagan. Games like this are stupid.
Not real, everybody.
It's a really good game, guys. I think it's a really good game. Never mind. This one is a Game Pass special, and we're a little late covering it. It came out a while ago now.
Not that long ago. It's just the start of this year.
We're on our own schedule. It's okay.
End of January. Reagan, you don't have. This is your podcast, and we are beholden to no publishers or anything like that. If we want to cover a game that came out 3 years ago or 30 years ago,
guess what, everybody? Old games are still good games.
In fact, they probably respect your time more than trying to chase whatever the latest new hot thing is.
But in the spirit of not being derisive, let's let Reagan finish the intro.
Oh, there's not much more to it. I was just going to say that this game comes to us from the developer Tango Gameworks. And the thing that stuck out to me the most when this dropped, this dropped as part of a big Microsoft event and was like a surprise release. I keep hearing gamery type people refer to this new release phenomenon as shadow drops, which I think is making it sound entirely too exciting. But it's a game that was announced and released on the same day. A game that was not even really rumored before it was released, and it released directly onto Game Pass, which is great because it was announced in this big high profile way.
Gamers, this is a shadow drop.
You
never cease to amuse me, Blue Hedgehog.
Jesus. And so it dropped directly onto Game Pass, which I think helped a lot for adoption. It's gotten a lot of very, good buzz.
If you want to live, you'll leave the emeralds where they are.
But you could be excused for thinking this was some kind of like awesome indie that you never heard of. But actually, this is from Tango Gameworks. Tango Gameworks is like a sub studio of Bethesda. But it's like Shinji Mikami's studio. They're the people that did the last Evil Within and Evil Within 2 and Ghostwire Tokyo. So primarily known for horror, a spin-off from Shinji Mikami's left Capcom to start Tango Gameworks.
Yeah, he was the God Hand guy. I always wanted to play God Hand.
Oh, that game whips, but is that really him? I didn't realize.
Yeah, that's him. So no, that's Wikipedia.
Oh no, you're right. Oh dang, you're right. Oh man, I was for some reason mixing that up, but yeah, no, God Hand is great. We're gonna talk about old games that just we couldn't quite do that one on the show, man. But man, that's really overdue for a re-release and a new look. God Hand.
So God Hand just a little too old for your estimate of what should go on this podcast, Reagan?
Well, how long is it? That's the question.
It's
You don't have to
probably
answer
too
it
long.
on the podcast.
It's also on PlayStation 2. So that's a tricky one to get back to. But actually, like, thinking about it now, like, that has a little bit of the like action vibe that this does, and the wild like sense of humor that this does. But this is from Tango Gameworks, who have pretty much only done horror, and this is about the most direct opposite of horror that you can think of at this point.
A little bit of body horror.
Although they did say it was inspired by Shaun of the Dead, for what it's worth.
Really? I don't see
and
it
I think it's more, they said Shaun of the Dead and other Edgar Wright films, and I'm like, oh, so you mean Scott Pilgrim? Because I see that one.
I can see that one maybe a little more. It's a really strange game. The very first bit, when it boots up, you are a well, maybe now's not the right time to do the question. Let's keep going.
Go for it. You've beautiful transition into it.
Now I've already ruined the rhythm. I'll just keep going.
This is the way listeners. Reagan loves to flow us right into this. Yeah,
but this is a music game, and before we start talking any more about the gameplay or anything like that, I've got to impose on you with my mandatory banter. So I thought I'd ask, because this is a music game, let's say, Shane, Laura, that you have just gone down to the store and picked up a new pair of headphones, or let's say maybe that you've gotten an iPod embedded in your chest cavity.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that's happened to you.
Oh, yes.
And you were picking what to listen to on it first to just check things out, see how these new cans or whatever sound. What are you picking? What are you choosing to listen to first?
For actual calibration, I choose something that falls into my self-described genre of indie orchestral or actual orchestral. I'm going to pull out an Andrew Bird, Nervous Tick Motion of the Head to the Left. I'm going to pick like a weird, like, Roomful of Teeth a cappella thing. I'm going to pick something very like, something you could play at a cathedral and it would sound very cool. Lots of beeps and boops and different instruments, because I want to hear everything. And then once it's calibrated, listen to my normal stuff, which is pop music and podcasts. So I calibrate them beautifully to listen to myself at my greatest music appreciation. And then I know I just go back to my hot loving self. So
if I'm honest, the real answer for me is probably like 12 kbps mono spoken word content from a podcast. But
I do, every time I get a really nice pair of headphones, I calibrate them and I have a beautiful Sigur Rós. Like, I listen to some very nice music on it and I'm like, this is what these headphones can do, and then I never make them do that again. How about you, Shane?
I guess I kind of want to give two answers because, the boring answer is actually, my headphones are like 95% podcast delivery devices. I'll often keep just one of them in, keep the other AirPod in the case. But when I'm actually testing out speakers or headphones, I do kind of have a go-to song, and that is Heroes by David Bowie. I just feel like that's a good song. I mean, it's a great song, but it also has a pretty wide variety of sound and like kind of covers a big sound space. So that's a good one to test out. It's got some nice lows and highs, and uses a lot of the range. So that's a good one to go with.
My answer is very not rock, and that's kind of in line with what Laura was saying. Like the very specific song I usually do this with is Sadie by Joanna Newsom. It's not my favorite of her songs. I absolutely adore Joanna Newsom. I know she's divisive. Shane always tells me he thinks she sounds like a screeching old woman.
She does.
But she's the greatest singer-songwriter of our time. She's wonderful.
She's great.
And Sadie is a song that begins with maybe her most screechy screech.
Oh no!
But it's a sound that the very first sound in this song, you know instantly if your speakers or headphones sound right, because not
they
all
never
of them
will again.
Yeah, it's a real trial by fire. Like,
it is not all speakers can reproduce Joanna Newsom's screechy, beautiful tones in the way that, like it. So yeah, if you have a second, she's on Apple Music. She's not on Spotify. She's been disputing with them for her entire career. But if you have Apple Music and you go look up Sadie by Joanna Newsom, prepare yourself before that very first sound. But also probably just after that, I'll just put on a random Mountain Goats playlist and see how that sounds.
But I will say the music in this game is nothing like anything we just cited.
No, yeah, this game's first track is Lonely Boy from the Black Keys. And I think it sets a good tone, but it also felt a little out of place in like a super multicolored sci-fi action game. What do you guys, before we dig into the gameplay, what did you guys think of this? Because this is such a music focused thing. Like, what did you guys think of the music and soundtrack?
I mean, I saw Black Eyed Keys when I was in Chicago at Lollapalooza, and at the time I was like, what a nice throwback band I'm listening to. And I live in New York now. That's not saying it's like bad. I expected from the look it was going to be much more like Japanese, much more bubblegum.
Me too.
I was fine with the rock music.
Oh, I played this with the sound off.
It's you can't, Shane. This is I was also kind of, at first glance, you look at this with the incredible colors and the sort of punky, fun sci-fi vibe. And you think, oh, well, maybe they're doing sort of a Jet Set Radio thing here. And so maybe they're going to be doing some, weird, funky beats or something. And it's not that. It is a rock game.
Speaking of Jet Set Radio, we're getting that kind of spiritual successor sometime in this year. It was originally coming out. I was originally going to be out by now, but it's called Bomb Rush Cyberfunk. Have you seen any of the ads for that?
Yeah, I've seen some trailers.
Yeah, it's coming out this summer. Looks cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will confess I'm much more like soundtrack wise, like I am a Sayonara with Hearts type of listener. But I will say this game reminded me of something I was told when I was doing research into wedding playlists and wedding DJs, and that is that everybody will go on the dance floor for songs that were hits when they were in college. And that's the vibe of this game. It's like, it's not a game played by current 19-year-olds. This is a game designed by adults who are like, I love Nine Inch Nails, I love the Black Keys, I love Prodigy, Flaming Lips, Fiona Apple. Like, these are my bands. And bless. Like, honestly, I had fun with music. I can't complain about the many, many, many dollars they must have spent on it. I just found it very unexpected and funny.
I couldn't look up, I couldn't find easily how old the director of this game is, but Shinji Mikami is 57 and lines up. Yeah, like this is dad rock.
It's college and like the 10 years after college, and then you stop listening to music is the theory.
Yeah, and that's been true for me, I'm afraid. It's really depressing to the degree to which I've completely tuned out of like music as a medium. Like I'd like to blame this on having kids, but I think it's more just a stage of life thing where like I don't listen to music that I'm not already familiar with much anymore. It's rough, but I like listened to the soundtrack of this game and I was a little like, move on, guys.
Yeah, that was funny to me too. I think,
especially contrasting it with the sci-fi, it sort of feels like, yeah, they'll definitely be listening to my favorite college playlist when they're building robots.
Tonally, I will say I was quite confused about like, these people will be into Black Keys and these people need a lot of tutorials because they've never played a video game before. And I was like, what is happening? Why are these two things happening at the same time? But shall we explain what the game is about?
Yeah, let's do story stuff at the front. Does anybody want to talk about the intro or the beginning of the story?
I'll give the intro. Sure. So the game starts off. The protagonist is a kid named Chai, who is seemingly obsessed with music and wants to be a rock star. I think he puts on his ID future rock star, and he is trying to sign up for what seemed like a internship or something at a place called Vandelay Technology. And Vandelay technology is giving people robot arms. I don't know. Chai has a kind of a disabled arm, and he's signed up for some sort of program where they are getting ready to replace his arm with a robot arm. And that does happen. It's a pretty sweet robot arm. But
it's funny because it has this sort of like futuristic body horror element to it, where he's like going into some program to be partially robotified and have his limbs removed.
It was broken, Reagan. What are you going to do with a broken arm? Wait for it to get healed?
He's got sprained. He has it in a tiny little like a
it's not even
sling.
A cast.
Yeah, it's like oh well, I can see why he wants that removed and replaced with unfeeling steel, right? Like,
and as he's on his way in, I forget. Like, did the receptionist lady take his iPod, or he dropped it or something?
Yeah, they have him put. He's going in for incredibly damaging body altering surgery, and he puts all of his stuff in a little bin, including
his iPod. It's like tossed through all the machines and like lands on his chest
and vacuum sealed into his body.
When the arm applicator encases him in steel, it also sticks his iPod into his heart.
It just
like Iron
squishes
Man.
It right on in there, and puts an Iron Man glass cover on the front.
I kind of have to stop for a second because the way we're explaining this isn't like fully selling the vibe here. Hi-Fi Rush, this intro segment is very effectively done in the style of kind of a modern American cartoon, like a modern cartoon for teens or kids, and it does that with a really good combination of 3D animated characters with very good cell shading, very seamlessly mixed with a good deal of like hand-drawn backgrounds and things like that. And I would say the art style for me, I mean, I don't have a huge range of frame of reference on cartoons for kids, but it reminded me of that She-Ra cartoon that they did a little while ago in terms of the style.
I can see that. Yeah, it does have that sort of. It is sort of interesting that it's from a Japanese developer. The director, I don't know if he's in Japan, but I don't believe he's Japanese based on his name. In fact, actually, I heard an interview with him on a podcast a while ago, so I know he's not Japanese, but I don't know where he lives or where he's from. Has a pretty standard American accent, so I guess this is anyway. But it doesn't read as anime at all. It reads as an American cartoon, and that's actually kind of uncommon. Like, you don't get a lot of things that have you get a lot of anime inspired like cell shaded art in games, but you don't get this vibe very much, and I really kind of appreciated it. I love an anime game as much as the next guy, but this was a little bit of a breath of fresh air.
Depends who that next guy is. I'm gonna say. I thought it was pretty good in terms of just the look of it and the scenery. Everything was really well done. If I were to like maybe I probably should get back to telling the story of the game, but if I were going to critique the look of it, there's almost no enemy in a video game that can become quite so samey as robots. That's literally mass produced.
How do you feel about boxes?
How do I feel? Do you guys like breaking crates?
Love it. I love to break a crate.
So the story of the game, he gets in there, he gets his robot arm, and then he meets up with a robotic cat named. Oh, now he is defective because he's got the rhythm in his soul or whatever from his
little Iron Man
heart.
circle thing.
Mm-hmm. And that means that the charming cast of villains is going to be after him. And I think the intro sets them up pretty well. sets them up
Yeah.
really well, but I forgot their names already.
I have a page
Thank
pulled up
you,
with all
thank
of their
you, thank
names.
you.
So one of the things I love about this, the character names and character designs are all phenomenal. It has the feel of like, somebody put a lot of care into the like character designs. They're all these like super cartoony, like over the top characters, but they're very distinctive. Almost all of the characters have food names, which is a thing that I love to see. So Chai, obviously, and the other like heroes or like resistance fighters, Peppermint, Macaron, and the robot CNMN, Cinnamon. And then many of the bad guys also have food names like Mimosa or Kale Vandalay. Not all of them do, though. For some reason, they broke that with things like Rekka or Zonzo, unless there's a food called a Zonzo that I've never heard of. But the characters are all really
Like a
great.
future food.
Exactly. Everyone's going to be eating Zonzos in 10 years. But yeah, they're really, and also, of course, 808 is not a food, but 808 is named after the Roland TR-808 synthesizer, or I guess it's like a drum machine or something. I forget.
Oh, okay.
So
Nate, where are you?
Yeah, Nate. Oh, man, Nate should have been on this episode, man.
It's okay.
He's the music guy on the podcast, and he would know, for example, what a Roland whatever I just said was the TR-808. But he's not here. Hi, Nate. We miss you. He also is more of a rock guy than any of us, I think.
Mhm.
Yep.
He certainly looks like more of a rock guy than any of us.
He's in a band. I mean, he actually has bona fides. Like
He does. He totally does.
we're talking like in the abstract. Bear Hive. Long live Bear Hive.
Long live Bear Hive. So let's see, where were we?
This is kind of like a mishmash of different influences, if you want to call like food and music influences. And on top of that, there's this whole thing of Vandalay, where the world that you're in is the campus for a tech company, an evil tech company. And
wow, an evil tech company.
I know. And every place you go through is like making your way through the different departments of that tech company. So there's like QA, and there's I forget what the other ones were, like finance or stuff
Security,
like that.
Yeah, R&D.
So yeah, there's a lot of different things going on here. What did you guys think of we're talking a lot about the characters. I think the characters are the selling point for this game. What did you think of the characters?
I don't know if the characters are the selling point of this game. We haven't even talked about its like the rhythm mechanics and fighting, which are the selling points. But we're kind of holding that for a little later.
The selling point is it was free because it's on Game Pass. But
that's also a selling point. Yeah. Although it's also on Steam, so if you don't have Game Pass, you can pick this up there. It is not on PlayStation because this is wholly owned by the Microsoft Corporation. The characters are great. I enjoyed so this is a game that has like, it's fully, it's squeezing on the cheese. It's goofy. It's a cartoon. But it has some moments that are really legitimately funny, like laugh out loud funny bits. Not all of it, it's got some like very like,
it also has some very
humor.
Yes, cringy quips.
Yeah.
If you like your video game chock full of quips, oh boy.
I mean, do you want somebody to say, you sound like a video game tutorial? Like
that left me laughing, actually.
I did laugh. Good. I gotta confess I laughed, but I also kind of didn't like myself for laughing. I'm just saying it stuck in my head because it was memorable, right?
It was, yeah. There's some really good moments in this. The characters are very I think honestly Chai is a little annoying, but like at least he's not like he's not like video game protagonist guy, right? He's not like I'm the the savior of the universe tough guy. He is an overconfident, silly, young guy who dreams of being a rock star and is falling from deadly situation to deadly situation, full of optimism and oblivious to danger for the most part. And I like that. I think he's fun. I think the interplay between him and Peppermint, the sort of too cool for school, blue hair chick who's the hacker behind the scenes, kind of leading you through the maze of the place. That's fun. They work well together, and they're constantly talking, even as you're doing like platforming levels and stuff. That's great. And overall, the story works. It's a cartoon. It's not exactly deep, but it's fun. I liked it. So there was more of it than I was expecting. Like every level begins with like a little them setting out a plan and talking about their plan, and bosses get introduced with like full scenes where the boss tells you about themselves, and there's a lot of talking back and forth, and real cartoon characters. There's a lot more going on story wise in this than in a lot of the games that we play, which is surprising given that it's so light and and cute and funny.
And an XY.
And an XXY, yeah. Let's talk about that XXY gameplay. This is so if you've played games like character action or stylish action games, anything from your God of Wars to your Devil May Cries to your whatevers, this has that kind of vibe. It alternates between sort of platforming, 3D platforming, which is never the greatest, but this does it fine. Reasonable 3D platforming, moving around through various different spaces, and kind of like arena style battles. So like you'll walk into a room, the door is shut, robots are here, fight them. And at first it's doing a lot of tutorialization. So the robots are very simple, and the combat system, the big sort of innovation of this game, the big thing is its selling point is that because you have the robot heart, the iPod heart that's constantly playing music, you and everything around you in the game world is moving on the beat. And it's not like Cadence of Hyrule or something where if you don't move on the beat, then you're screwing up and you're going to die. It's more that just like everything just naturally goes on the beat. All the things moving around you in the world, like traffic lights blinking and things bouncing around in the background, are all moving on the beat. The enemies are attacking on the beat. They're stepping on the beat. They're walking on the beat. They're hitting you on the beat. And your attacks also always go on the beat. Even if you don't quite actually hit the buttons that you want to hit on the beat, the game will put them on the beat. Everything stays on beat naturally. Now, the combat, you do better if you do try to hit the beat. So certain combos will require that you hit things on the beat. There's a lot of moves that you do more powerful attacks and take less damage if you're hitting things on the beat or blocking on the beat. But even if you hit a little early or a little late, it's not like the bad feeling in Guitar Hero where like you're screwing up and the music starts sounding worse and nothing is going right and it's hard to get back on the beat and nothing makes sense. Actually, it's easier, I think, to stay on the beat here because it's automatically keeping things on the beat for you constantly.
You listed this as the like innovation of the game, though, and I don't know how much of an innovation it is to kind of mash up something like this with a rhythm game. It had me thinking back about like how many rhythm game / other genre mashups have we covered or talked about on this show, right? Not that long ago, we played, we actually didn't cover, but we did play a lot of like Metal Hellsinger. That's a rhythm game shooter mashup. We definitely covered a rhythm game dungeon crawl mashup. That was Crypto the Necrodancer. I think we did multiple versions of that. It's going back a few years. There's a lot of games that kind of bring these things together. I'm thinking back to like maybe Bit Trip Runner.
I think what I'm specifically saying is an innovation here, though, is the fact that things are on the beat all the time anyway. And like it's sort of always like lightly guiding you to be on the beat, and it's not scolding you if you don't hit on the beat. You just do better if you're on the beat.
And they have a lot of different difficulty options, including an easy one where they really round, like for the people with lag or really no rhythm, versus very precise for those people who play expert Guitar Hero. So I think it's a very forgiving rhythm game. We also covered Thumper, which is that rhythm violence game. We've
Yeah.
done
They
I've
made that-
done
they
rhythm
made that title up.
shooters. They
I'm
did.
I
thinking back
love
to
the name Rhythm
Wand.
Violence.
If we're thinking about
So
like
good.
easier side of rhythm games, we were very positive on Wander Song.
Yes.
That has sort of a rhythm game element to it.
Sort of, yeah, at times. And this has sort of like mini game type stuff too. And there's things like, I've got to open a lock and it requires hitting, A, B, X, Y or whatever in a very particular rhythmy kind of way. But the combat itself is like rhythm based, but does not rely 100% on your ability to execute on the beat. And that's, I think, an improvement over something like Crypt of the Necrodancer for me in terms of just like being able to casually enjoy the thing, because I wasn't constantly like worried that I was going to get off beat and die. I think it feels more like the character action game that it really is than like a rhythm game. But having that little bit of rhythm in everything, in literally everything, like everything on screen is moving to everything that moves is moving to the beat to some degree. That just does kind of give it this feel of like, I'm in a groove, I'm going to keep moving. And there's so many fun little things that do move on the beat. Like if you watch like even little stuff that you wouldn't notice unless you're looking carefully, like Chai stands still and he starts snapping his fingers to the beat. And you see him doing that, and you can time. It's in time with the stoplights blinking in the background. It's in time with the
Air coming out of the vents.
Yeah, coming out in little rhythmic puffs. Literally everything. I really, really like that about it. I think it's just absolutely like it's charming. You like notice little things that like cute, funny robots are doing in the background, and they're on the beat. It's
And
great.
the thing that really differentiates us from other rhythm games is there's no oopsies, the whole world got out of sync. Like it's not like Rock Band when all of you mess up and then the music dies and the fan dies. Like there's literally no state where you can get out, like where the world will stop grooving.
There are times where you do have to hit on the beat for like essentially little mini games within the game. So the first thing that comes to mind is that there are times where you have to like parry by blocking on the beat. And if you don't figure out how to execute on those parries, they're pretty forgiving. It's not like Dark Souls parries or something. But if you don't figure out how to execute on those, then you're going to die at certain points and kind of need to try it again. But it's very heavily checkpointed. You can just jump into a lava pit at any point and you're pretty much just going to respawn right where you were outside the lava pit. And if you die on a boss fight, it's going to drop you right back at the beginning of that boss fight. You're not going to have to like make your way there again.
Not even
It's
the beginning
forgiving.
of the boss fight, like the beginning of the last phase of the boss fight.
Yeah, sometimes even within the fight. Yeah. It's an incredibly forgiving game. And that meant that I felt a lot of like forward momentum through it. It was fun to play. It was fun to play with my kids. They liked watching it, I think, just because of the cartoon visuals. I don't think they were particularly, they didn't really get the plot. But then again, neither did I. So it didn't matter.
Like many beat 'em up type games, you can buy more combos. I, of course, was like, I can learn 2 combos. And that's all I can remember. And then I will buy permanent health and energy meter updates because I cannot remember combos and I will just hit
XXY,
buttons.
baby.
So I think it was XYX. There's one that you can cause like a little explosion, like a little burst.
Yeah.
Where you target one enemy and then you cause a burst around it, which is also one of my favorite D&D attacks. So like that's the kind of stuff I spent my money. I was like, 2 things, one for bursts and one for crit damage on a single person. And that's all my mental state can handle. I don't know if you have the like Mortal Kombat ability to memorize more than 2 combos, but I was playing this ill. So I was like 2 combos done.
You can totally play it that way though. Like this game is okay with you like doing the same combos again and again. I did a little more than that, but I kind of feel you. Like this game, I've played games like, for example, the Devil May Cry series, which I think also Shinji Mikami. No, I forget. Never mind. Sorry, I'm bad gamer today. But anyway, like that really relies on you learning this like broad set of combos and using them and deploying them in like stylish ways, right? And you can play this game that way. Like if you want to get like to be fancy and really go wild with like lots of fun situational combos, there are a lot of really cool combos that you can learn in this game, and you have to, you know, acquire them with the point system like Laura said, and then memorize the button combos and remember how to use them in particular situations. Like this one's only valid if you're in the air, and this one only works if you are you know, going up against somebody who has shields that you need to destroy, that kind of thing. And that's cool. That's like a really, you know, that's a cool system. But this is more than any game that I've played that has that kind of system. It doesn't really require you to get good at it. It really does, at least for the amount of the game that I've played, which we'll talk about how far we all got with this. I don't think any of us completed this one, but at least with as far as I got, even against bosses, which sometimes got a little tough, I never felt like I was like absolutely required to move beyond my little pet set of like 5 combos that I kept cycling through. So yeah, it's a little, and that's why it's not really a genre that I play a lot. Like I don't really gravitate to these. I don't like Bayonetta, for example. I know everyone likes that game. I do not enjoy it. Like there are a lot of games that have this kind of like, you know, character action, you know, 3D, third person, arena combat, combo system type of steez. And like, it's just not a thing I usually gravitate towards. You know, what pulled me in here was the rhythm aspect and the fun visuals and characters. And I was just sort of like along for the ride on the combat, like trying to keep up. But yeah, I think that folks who do like that kind of combat, and there are a lot of them, will probably find something to appreciate here.
It was pretty cathartic. I mean, just again, smashing so many crates and robots. And some of the robots you weren't allowed to smash, so that I was confused. Like, which robots can you smash?
That was
you
very
can't.
funny.
You cannot smash the union workers, the menial laborers, unless sometimes the people mopping the floor you can mess with, but the other ones you can't. I was like, I kind of wanted for science in the podcast to figure out who you could, if there was a rhyme or reason to who you could
I think
attack
it's just
and who
the
you
security
couldn't.
robots that you can destroy.
You can also break some of the bots. You can break.
It is very funny because like all the robots are like hapless, abused workers, and they have like little personalities, and you get lots of scenes with them like pushing mops or like trying to look professional when the boss walks in the room. Or
that one note, I will say there was a early in the game, maybe the second level, there is a robot who has so many boxes stacked and is going, will someone help me with the boxes? Will someone help me with these boxes? And you can run up and get around and get some kind of energy, some kind of heart piece, whatever the equivalent is in this game. And then there is a hook above his head. And I was like, oh, surely I can use this and help this poor downtrodden worker. And I was like, nope, it's inactive. And I kept trying. I was like, maybe I can jump on it. And I tried for like literally 5 minutes to help this robot. And I looked up a cheat and they were just like, go past him and crawl in the air vent. And I was like, what? How are you not supposed to side quest help this dude?
I mean, you know, it's if you help him out, you're just supporting the system.
Mr. Snow, like, I gave you all the clues. Like there was all the pieces to like lift these things off this robot. And I was like, yes, this is a puzzle. There's a puzzle in this game. Now, Laura, it is your turn. It was not a puzzle.
I assume it's cut content then.
Oh, maybe it's New Game Plus. Maybe you go back and you're actually able to activate the machines and help the workers. Not in round one.
In the New Game Plus, you start a robot rebellion and release them all instead of systematically destroying hundreds of them. It is very just funny though, the fact that like the robots are all just guys and you're just like mowing them down, and it's like they're all just like, it's a living, gotta go get sorted to death.
This is not a new problem in video games.
No, but it's different when they're funny robot guys with like put upon personalities who are like,
This is
annoyed at their
exactly why they
bosses.
make them robots and not like,
This is an
actual
Undertale,
guys.
folks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is there anything left to say about Hi-Fi Rush? I would just tell folks that I think this game is absolutely worth a try. I think it's it gained a lot of juice from being a day one drop on Game Pass. But even if you're not in that ecosystem, if you do like this style of game, I think it's probably worth picking up. It's on Steam. It's available to purchase on Xbox. Even if you're not a Game Pass subscriber, you can get it there. And I think it's really fun. I had a lot of fun playing it, and my kids liked watching it. So we mostly would only turn it off when I got tired of XXYing it. The kids were enthusiastic about it the whole way through. So that was fun.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
I thought it was super fun.
Mm-hmm. I enjoyed it too. I mean, this isn't a game that's totally to my taste. That is fine. But what it is it's a game that was pretty well. It was beautifully made. Really seemed really well honed. It's not one of these big empty open world games. It seemed like it had a pretty good story with a real ending, and not trying to be like a giant endless time suck. Not a bunch of stuff you can buy in there. It just seemed like a pretty fun video game, and I am here for it. And it has a Fiona Apple song in the soundtrack.
Yeah.
So
May I give you a few of the tags on Wikipedia for this game? Chosen by me includes graffiti video games, prosthetics in fiction, video games about slavery, and video games with cel-shaded animation.
Video games about slavery. I guess technically, are the robots the slaves? I don't know. It's I mean, there's a whole plot line about like mentally enslaving people, mind controlling people. So I guess there's that.
Sure.
The game is about, so how long to beat lists this at 11 hours for a regular playthrough. So it's actually a little long for us. And I don't think any of us actually finished it. We all like gave it our best try. It's not a genre that I like make.
This is a game for bite-sized playing. I don't want to play this for more than a song at a time. Like the songs are the levels, and I think like I would want to play a song and stop for the night, and that's the pace it seems designed for.
Absolutely. Yeah. The levels are called tracks, and each one, honestly, they're a little long. Like if I had, there are, I think 12 or 13 of them. And to be honest, like if I had one small complaint about this, I think that the levels are a little long. I think they should have made them about 25% shorter. There's a lot of segments in them where like, oh, okay, I've fought my way to the hub of the level, and now a friendly robot tells me I need to like go down these 3 different hallways and fight mini bosses at the end of each and flip a switch at the end of each hallway, basically. And I'm like, couldn't it have been 2 hallways? A lot of that kind of thing. But I think it's very good about checkpointing, like we mentioned. So this is a game to probably play in smaller bites. That's what worked best for me. It was like, just play it until I got slightly tired of it, stop, and when I came back, I was exactly where I left off for the most part. So good for that kind of thing. This is when we talk about Game Pass games. I think the last one we covered was Pentiment, so I've been mentioning the streaming experience. If you're a Game Pass Ultimate subscriber, I think maybe all Game Pass subscribers, I don't remember if it requires Ultimate, you can do the like streaming from the cloud thing, which I find really convenient. But this game absolutely does not work that way because of the rhythm aspect. Like the lag that's introduced from streaming this game from the cloud makes it absolutely unplayable in that format.
Speaking of streaming, there's a weird option I've never seen before in this game, which is in order to avoid copyright strikes, if you're a Twitch streamer, you can flip a switch and it will replace all of the like needle drops with fake needle drops.
I've started seeing that as like, this isn't the first place I've seen that. I've seen that in a number of games recently, like games that have licensed music, introducing an option to replace it with like generic right holder free, copyrightless music. And I'm always a little curious to try it just to see what they picked, because like there's some very like unique songs in this. And did they just like get a sound alike, for
Yeah,
the Black
they did.
Keys or something?
No, they got a specific band. I saw the name, but I've forgotten it already. But they had a band that basically did sound alikes for all of the licensed tracks. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, that's really cool. I'm glad to see that, exist. I'm sure it's like a ton of extra trouble. And, when you're already going to the expense of
Yeah.
doing licensed music. But yeah, good option if you're a Twitch streamer, I guess. And, they want to get that free advertising.
Speaking of things I've never seen that this game did, did you guys like quit out to the like hideout menu thing
Mhm.
in the middle of? Did you notice that every level had a different little bit of dialogue where the characters would be like, "Hey, how do we get here? I thought we were about to fight the boss."
I don't think I noticed that.
It's kind of neat. They got a little. They had different ones for all the different levels, as far as I could tell.
They did
that's fun.
they did some really fun bits. I forget which level. There's a level where at the end you get, so every time you boot it up, the main menu is them hanging out in their little like home base, and you're sitting on a couch and there's the cat there, and usually it begins with like, okay, let's go on our next mission or whatever, and it goes from a scene back at the home base out to wherever the level is going to take place. And one of the levels, the previous level had ended with Chai being captured, and then when I started up the game, it came to the home base menu, and I was like, I thought I got captured, but I didn't even put that much thought into it, because like, well, it's the home menu, it's the main menu of the game, right?
Mhm.
And you boot into it, and I'm sure this happens regardless, not just because I was booting in from the main menu, but it does the exact same thing. The characters are in the little base and they're hanging out, and they start chatting, and I forget exactly what they're saying, but then they start saying like, yeah, Chai, snap out of it. And snap out of it, snap out of it, snap out of it. And they all just start saying snap out of it. And then they start snapping. And then they start playing some jazzy music. Snap out of it, snap out of it, snap out of it. And he's like, snap. Finally, he's like, snap out of what? And he's like,
God.
he's waking up in a jail cell.
Amazing.
It had some very like, and that was a really memorable bit, because I thought I actually laughed out loud, and it was very lots of really good moments with the characters in this. Like the characters are a little thin, they're food names, they're cartoons, they're archetypes, but they did a lot with them. They made them work, and good voice acting. We didn't mention that, but like throughout, this is like a fully voiced game, like every line, and they got good voice actors. Everybody was really bringing their A game on it, I thought, for cartoony voice. So do we have a minute for what's making us happy this week? Shane, what's making you happy this week?
Well, I'm not sure if I should talk about this or not, because maybe it'll end up being an episode, but probably not.
Probably not. I think what you're talking about.
This is a new game that came out, and it is in early access, called Sons of the Forest. I did not play the original The Forest, but the Sons of the Forest is a survival horror game, like that. It's a really, really neat one. Reagan and I have been playing it together, and I was very surprised, Reagan, when you asked me if I wanted to play this game, because this seems like so not your thing. Survival games are absolutely I would love to know how it was that you decided that we should play this. I'm glad that we did.
Honestly, it was like a couple of weeks ago, you had been talking on the podcast about playing Minecraft with like your nephew.
Yeah.
And it had me thinking like, I don't have a hangout game with Shane lately anymore. And then I heard somebody talking about the, this new thing releasing, and I don't know, something about the idea of like combining the like the survival gameplay, like the like crafting and building bases and whatnot, is never my like main thing, but like the graphics in this looked quite neat. They looked realistic-ish, and they it's about an island setting with various different areas, and collecting weapons and trying to defend yourself, and this like sort of horror vibe to it. And the overall plot is something about like rescuing you're like a team of special forces people, like going onto this like weird island where something strange has been happening. Has kind of like vaguely Lost vibes, because there's there's like weird installations. There are the island is overrun by cannibals, just many cannibals. But you have to defend yourself from these weird cannibal people, and then there's just like weird stuff happening on the island, and something about it just it seemed like one of these like survival games, but that had maybe like it's in early access still, but like has a little bit more plot, or at least mystery to it than most.
I'm really used to survival games. Like, Minecraft is without a doubt my most played survival game, but I've kind of dipped my toe in other things like Don't Starve and Valheim and a few other things. I'll probably think of others. But No Man's Sky, I've sunk insane amounts of time into. But this one is really neat because it for me is tying the threads back together of survival and survival horror. All the survival horror that I've ever played has been pretty linear, Resident Evil kind of stuff. And the survival that includes the more simulation-y elements of survival has all been stuff like those other games I mentioned. But this one really kind of puts both of those together. You are in a world where you're literally never safe. There's monsters coming to kill you, cannibals coming to eat you all the time. But in that, you're actually on this absolutely beautiful island that has like seasons that change, and it has a really clever construction system that I've never seen before, where you grab your axe and you chop down trees, and the logs really kind of just fit together like Lincoln logs. And you could chop the logs into different lengths and use that to have a great degree of freedom in the building and the design of your base that you do. That said, I'm absolutely getting wrecked in this game.
Yeah, it's really hard. Like at this point, man, we're just getting annihilated. I've been because it's still pretty early, like it's in early access and it's brand new, and I don't think they've even really been any major updates to it yet. It's a little sparse. So like it's very deadly. And it's kind of hard to get a foothold or toehold with the base building, or to find any safety. It's very hard to like get enough materials to craft weapons more deadly than like a tomahawk type little like mini axe type of thing. And I feel like some of that's coming later, right? Like I think the ability to like build anything particularly interesting is still kind of like,
it's not so much that like you can build, and I've seen people like building incredible log cabin skyscrapers in this game. You can build a lot of really cool stuff, and the system for building is really good. What I haven't found so far is a really good reason to build things.
Yeah,
because the enemies are extremely good at knocking down your log cabins.
Oh no!
And the benefit of having a log cabin to sleep in is fairly equivalent to having like a Mylar sheet to sleep under. Like it's not that much different. So
that is kind of odd. It's like you expect like from the Minecraft type of games that there would be like a day-night cycle where there's like safe periods for you to go out and explore and build, and more dangerous periods when you might want to hole up in something that you build, like a cabin. But that's not the case in this game. It's dangerous all the time.
The gameplay is very good, and a lot of the gameplay is like you're kind of managing meters. There's a hunger meter and a sleepiness meter and a I don't know, thirstiness meter. I've never actually played a game where I had to constantly be aware of a source of fresh water. Like that was kind of interesting. Like, and especially when winter hit and a lot of the lake I had been drinking out of froze over, and I had to find a different source of fresh water. So there, that the survival elements, the survival gameplay is good. It is tuned to be hard. Like you are running, I've been running away a lot.
I think they want to keep it, because it's like a little light on content still at this point. I think they want to keep it challenging for the, for people who are going to be in it for the long haul. My thinking on it is like, I'd probably want to play like another couple of sessions, but at some point I think we put this thing on the shelf and come back to it when they've done some more updates.
It does also, I mean, it is also a gorgeous game. The graphics are really good. It does kind of require a, somewhat beefy PC as far as I can tell. Anyway, my impression of it so far is good. Games like this, survival games, tend to benefit from being this kind of early access thing. Just ask No Man's Sky. And so I'm very curious to see where this goes. I look forward to having a reason to building a log cabin with you, Reagan.
Yeah. It's apparently done really well. It was like the top game on Steam for a while or something. So I think they're going to keep working on it for a good while. Laura, what's making you happy?
So it is the time of year where my movie consumption is incredibly erratic because I'm trying to watch the best pictures from the previous year that I haven't seen, and the ones I delay seeing are all the really bummer pictures, like the ones I don't think I'm gonna like, and so I counter program with absolute nonsense. So, I will say there's been some lovely hidden gems. Looking at you, Marcel the Salvas Huzon, you're very charming.
Oh, I loved that.
But most of the stuff I've been delaying is like women talking or tar or like, they're 3 hours. They're heavy. So I've been watching a bunch of nonsense musicals. Now you say this and you're like, oh, Laura's watching like the ones people have heard of. No, the thing is I've watched those. So now you're going into the weird back catalog of the things people don't talk about. But the thing is, you watch Meet Me in Las Vegas or It's Always Fair Weather, and you're like, well, this is pretty mediocre. And then there's an extraordinary, like, oh my God, this is why people watch this movie dance number. And you're like, aha, I'm going to remember. So I'm going to recommend, just don't be me. Yes, Baby in Las Vegas has a weird scene where the plot of that is that a ballet dancer and a gambler, when they hold hands, they always win. And it gets increasingly weird, like chickens lay eggs when they walk past, and like oil shoots from the ground, and it's very it's not as sexual as that sounds somehow.
Lucky in love, adorable.
But then like they'll have a very strange number about like hell is a woman scorned, and a bunch of ladies will come out and do like a weird modern dance number for no reason. So yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff if you just look in the weird outskirts of older musicals that you don't go to the FI list. If you don't want to have the full experience, I understand. Just Google these two things: Shitsuri's Frankie and Johnny, and that is the best part of Meet Me in Las Vegas. It is an absurdly good, like it's sung by Sammy Davis Jr., and they just sing a whole song, Frankie and Johnny, about a woman killing her cheating man, and it's the whole thing's danced, and it's great. And then there's a song called Baby You Knock Me Out from It's Always Fair Weather, which is a pessimistic musical about 3 people who met in the war, and they're like, we're going to meet in 10 years. They meet in 10 years, and they're like, you're all assholes. That's literally the plot. I hate you all.
Good story, guys.
And then Shitsuri sings a song with a bunch of like just like cauliflower ear boxer men. It's called Baby You Walk Me Out, where she just happens to be a dame who knows about boxing, and they're so excited they sing a dance number, and it's great. And I was like, hey. And that musical is also famous because Gene Kelly does an entire number on roller skates. But I mean, if you want to see a pessimistic musical, it's there. Or you could just YouTube Baby You Knock Me Out and have a really good 4 minutes. So I encourage you to do that. She's the best dancer in film history, period. And you don't have to watch the whole movie to see those numbers.
Thank you, YouTube.
Thank you, YouTube.
Well, I'll just make my what's making me happy this week to co-sign Shane, since we did play it together. But I'll also say that I'm very happy to have recovered. I was very sick with a stomach bug for a few days there, but I'm on the mend, and things are looking up. And I'm looking forward to getting back to things and playing some more games. So, listeners, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of The Short Game. You can find our show on the internet. I'm changing the way we do this outro a little bit because I have put all of the links together in one place, and you can go to shortgame.fm. Shortgame.fm. Doesn't that roll off the tongue and read well in a podcast? Shortgame.fm is a new link that you can go to that gives you all of the different links to all of the different things for the podcast. So, for example, if you go to shortgame.fm, you can find the show's Twitter, the show's Mastodon account, the show, a link to, obviously, our website where we have the actual podcast and its show notes and everything. You can find a link to our Patreon where you can support the show. All of our patrons get access to our patron-only Discord, and we chat about the show there. We plan things there. We talk about upcoming episodes. But we also just talk about whatever is on your mind. We love to have people join us there, so join our community. And
you can simply play the podcast from that URL.
You can indeed. There's a little player on there. So shortgame.fm, shortgame.fm,
shortgame.fm.
Yeah. And also you have links to all of our socials. So we don't have to say them on the podcast anymore, although I will anyway. So you can find me. I'm Reagan Kelly. Thank you for joining us. You can find me on Mastodon at Reagan, RAYGAN, at bird.rodeo. Shane, where can people find you?
On shortgame.fm.
Oh, God. We're going to have to rethink this whole section. Laura, where can people find you?
If you go to shortgame.fm, you'll find my link. But basically, I'm on Mastodon and Twitter. Just go to that one link. Reagan has saved us all time.
Yes, except now I'm making it harder. All right. Thank you, listeners. And we'll meet you back next week for another episode of The Short Game.
.fm.